willkommen. Io non voglio microfoni. Tonight, Italian language is banned. We speak in English and in Sardinian, sul Sardo. The only words in Italian will be mine, ma io sono il direttore dell'Istituto Italiano. Benvenuti, ringrazio l'Associazione Culturale Iscandula, la famiglia Bentzon, tutti gli amici sardi di Copenaghen che hanno scelto l'Istituto Italiano di Cultura per questa serata in onore di Andreas Fridolin Bentzon. Bentzon ha definito la Sardegna una miniera d'oro culturale, a golden mine, cultural golden mine. Credo che sia la definizione più azzeccata, più adatta per la Sardegna. Un'isola, una nazione che ci ha dato 30 secoli di cultura, dai nuraghi fino a Marialai, dai gigantes di prima a Costantino Nivola. Una cultura unica, inimitabile, ma nello stesso momento che è totalmente collegata all'altra grande miniera che è la cultura italiana. Per cui sono veramente molto felice stasera di questa serata dedicata a Andreas Fridolin Bentzon e alla Sardegna. Grazie e do la parola al professore.
This is okay. Good evening, everybody. I am Giorgio, and here comes Olimpia Grusso, who is the, let's say, the brain of all this organization. Olimpia Grusso, apart from being the runner of Ristorante, La Vecchia Signora, and of course San Giorgio as well, because she's the wife of Achille Melis, the owner of San Giorgio. She is the president of the association Incantos, and together had this crazy idea to organize so quickly this event, because I know that Danish people, when the sun shines, they just leave houses and concert halls and everything. And so I said that we have to rush. Thanks to the director, we had the possibility to arrange it for today. It was a little bit, hanged, but we succeeded. Having so many guests, I think we can only be happy. Okay, Olimpia, do you want to say some more?
Allora, io parlo in italiano perché non sono così brava e spero che gli amici di Incantos dell'istituto, ma anche i nuovi amici di Incantos, che spero verrete spesso, perché ultimamente grazie anche al direttore Barbieri stiamo facendo dei begli eventi. E la settimana prossima ci sarà un evento, venerdì prossimo, dedicato a Joyce Lusso, una donna che è stata una donna grande, una donna guerriera, e quindi faremo vedere il film sulla sua vita. E ci sarà un bellissimo concerto di una bravissima cantante sarda che si chiama Manuela Mameli, e diciamo musica sarda ma in una veste nuova, jazz, quindi siete invitati venerdì prossimo 6 maggio.
Next Friday, the 6th of May.
Quindi adesso lascio a loro la parola perché Bentzon è un personaggio personaggio, una persona che è veramente importante, e quindi lascio a loro la parola e vediamoci il film che,
sì. Va bene. Grazie mille.
Che ci illustra tutto.
Sì.
Grazie.
The appointment for next week on the 6th of May will be dedicated to Joyce Lusu, the wife of a famous anti-fascist, Italian anti-fascist, and they will even screen the film about Joyce Lusu. Okay, so this event is organized just to commemorate Fridolin's 50th anniversary of his death, which happened in 1971. So exactly on the 21st or 20th of December 1971, Fridolin left. And we organized an event in Cagliari, in the conservatory and in the university, and now it is a little bit a copy of it. There were two days of concerts and screenings and debates, etc., and this is a short lecture. But doesn't matter, it's a big pleasure to be here. We are supported, of course, in Incantos, Olympia's association, and the association I run, Iscandula, plus, of course, the Italian Cultural Institute, which is hosting us here, thanks to Dr. Barbieri, who is the director, and San Giorgio restaurant, who is not only helping us in many ways, but he will even offer the buffet at the end of the film. And I hope that you are here for both, not only for the buffet, but even for our event. So, our cultural association is supported by the Ministry of Education in Italy, and by the Regional Sardinian government, by the foundation, the Sardinian Foundation, which is another foundation which helps us to run the association and to do all this work about Fridolin. Our association is mostly based on Fridolin, and it has been founded in 1985, just to research and divulgate all Fridolin's materials. Till now, we have done 6 or 7 books and CDs and films, etc. And we hope to go further with the publications, because we only have published 20% of this material. So I wish myself at least 200 years to be able to finish all these publications. You wish to it to me as well, please. Anyway, so due to my age, I asked Eva Garau, who is a colleague of us, who is working for the Association Iscandula. Eva, come please. She is Eva Garau. She will conduct the and before we started, there were some ladies who have already contacted her. Eva, who is an historian in the University of Cagliari and a friend of us for many, many years, she's going to write Fridolin's biography finally, because we really need to have everything written on paper, possibly just to leave it for the memory and for the future, for the new generations. So I think I have said everything. There is a little change in the program you read on the internet site of the Cultural Institute. It is that first we have some presentation of friends of Fridolin, relatives of Fridolin, and then we will screen the film. And after the film, you have to stay if you want to taste the specialities of San Giorgio. Thank you very much. Eva.
Well, Dante, in the opening, first of all, thank you very much for being here. I'm very excited, molto emozionata di essere qui. I think Fridolin's story is such a fascinating story, but we're going to talk about this in a moment. Dante forgot to announce that we are going to start with a bit list of Sardinian music indeed that fascinated Fridolin Bentzon so much. That is the origin of his interest in Sardinia, in this instrument, and actually this music, this sound is where the whole story begins. Quindi iniziamo con una esibizione di Graziano Montici che ci fa sentire quella musica che è stata l'origine della fascinazione di Fridolin Bentzon per la Sardegna, per la cultura, per la tradizione sarda. Especially to you, in Copenaghen, I think. Today, as Dante already told you, we're going to talk about Fridolin's life and work with his friends and people who worked on his writings and pictures and films, and we're going to watch a film. Now, allow me from time to time some very brief digressions for those Italian friends who are not very comfortable with English. So, ogni tanto qualche brevissima spiegazione, qualche riassuntivo in italiano c'è concesso. Oggi vediamo un film e iniziamo chiamando sul palco alcuni amici di Fridolin Bentzon per ripercorrere la sua storia. Fridolin's story is a story that is fascinating from so many perspectives. Of course, I find it, as an historian, I find it deeply fascinating. I believe this is a story that is not only about Sardinia, it's not only about Denmark, it's not only about music, but it's all of these together, culture, music, international relations in a way, and also the value of an heritage that is transmitted, something that is left. And what Fridolin left is actually pretty much all we have in Sardinia about certain specific aspects of Sardinian culture. So I don't want to take more time from the guests, and I will start only on the stage. The first guest, Nina, if you'd like to join me, please. Nina Bentzon. So we are, of course, delighted to have Nina here. Nina is Fridolin's niece. She's a trained lawyer at the University of Aarhus. She's also today a very well-known author and astrologist. Correct me if I'm wrong. And she's here on behalf of the family. So Nina has a very important role, which is that of taking care of what Fridolin has left. So we are very pleased to have her today to share. Well, I'm going to ask Nina to share some memories and reflections on Fridolin. Thank you, Nina. I'm going to sit down. If you like to sit down, I'm going to sit down. The stage is yours.
Dear friends, I am Silva Serpinis of Fridolin, and Fridolin was the brother of my mother. When I was a little girl of 7 years old, I looked into the clear blue eyes of my favorite uncle and said, Fridolin, you have such beautiful eyes. And he smiled so lovingly and said, oh, but you are not the first girl to say that. 2 years later, in 1971, these wonderful eyes closed forever, and the family was thrown into deep sorrow. As it turned out, it was not only the family that was in mourning, but also the wonderful, dear friends that we had made in Sardinia. I remember my mother's surprise and gratitude when the letters came around the funeral. She had not realized what he had shared and meant to so many people on his beloved island. My Uncle Fridolin's eyes were beautiful and extraordinary because the soul inside them was beautiful and extraordinary. He was vibrant, full of life, and like the rest of the family, intensely engaged in whatever projects he cast these eyes upon. The Bentzon family are all intense and passionate, but Fridolin had something extra, a loving, never failing interest in people, a complete openness of heart that opens so many doors in life, as well as the other family trait, a keen sense of humor. Someone once said that an idea has to be charming to be accepted by people, and Fridolin was full of charming ideas. At 8 years old, he was asked by a school teacher what he wanted to do when he grew up, and he answered, "I would like to become a professor of Etruscan culture." This was no joke, for when he was only 11 years old, he worked as a guide at Cultura, one of the major museums in Copenaghen, showing himself as an expert in Egyptian artifacts. In 1952, when he was 16 years old, he traveled with the Sanfrecce circus to Sardinian to work and fell in love with the people and the landscape and the traditional music. In 1956, he started playing bass in his brother Adrian's jazz band, together with their brother Vigo, who is also here, for his love of music, but also to earn money to return to Sardinia, only 21 years old. He started his Nimbus motorbike and began his life's work, the recording and documentation of the Sardinian folk music and festivals, including the first transcriptions of the Launedas tunes. In 1967, he became a doctor of musical ethnology at the Copenaghen University, the first of this in this position in Northern Europe. Fridolin worked in a completely unconventional way, but still with as much precision and truthfulness as possible. Fridolin's honesty was legendary in his company of friends and family. The standards were high. His father, Jan Bentzon, worked as a jurist at the Danish Supreme Court, but was also a composer and spoke 13 languages. None of us have been able to. We're trying. His mother, Mikaela, founded a musical school in Copenhagen. It is understood in the family that one must contribute to the world to the best of our abilities, whatever it takes. One of my favorite stories of Fridolin's brave and unconventional nature come from his time in the town of Nule. This story is told in a book by his brother Adrian. Nule was then still in the middle of the feidas, in Danish feide, with neighboring villages, which could even result in killings. Once a young man from the village had stolen sheep from another village, and everybody knew where he was hiding. Fridolin went up into the bushes and told him, "You want to become a bandit, but clearly you're not a good one, since everybody knows who you are and what you did. Are you sure this life is for you? Have you thought about what is going to happen now? Probably somebody is going to be killed in both villages, and it will be your fault." Fridolin managed to convince him to return the sheep. He was able to do things like that. In many ways, Sardinia became his second home country. We know he lived a short life, only 35 years, but he managed to do a great deal in those few years. There isn't a place with some cultural feature in Sardinia that he has not witnessed, taking notes, describing, interviewing, recording, and photographing. He has left an incredible amount of material. Our family is lucky that Tante Oleanas and his association of Iscandula took a special interest in Fridolin since 1976, and have managed his legacy with spirit and competence. My uncle Adrian became a personal friend of Dante, and apart from festivity and some singing in the streets of Cagliari, they accomplished a lot. This made it possible to publish films, recordings and books, not to mention countless exhibitions and events. And in December of last year, a decision was made by the Council of Cagliari to name a square after Fridolin by the Opera House. Our gratitude has no bounds. It is a great joy for the family that Fridolin made a contribution of such importance to Sardinia. He would have turned 86 years old this month of May. And we look upon the tireless efforts of Dante with gratitude for continuing Fridolin's work to the benefit of the Sardinian people and a new generation of young musicians. Dante Olianas and Fridolin have together, beyond the limits of time, built a bridge of understanding and culture between our two small island nations, and I know that wherever he is, he must be overjoyed. The wonderful blue eyes see this, see us now, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you so much. Your words are very touching, and they really testify this bond between your family in Sardinia, Denmark and Sardinia, Dante in Denmark, and so on and so forth. Allow me just 1 second in Italian, because what you said is so beautiful that I think everybody deserves to hear it. Nina ha parlato degli occhi di Fridolin, degli occhi blu di Fridolin, della luce che questi occhi avevano, e ha legato la passione di Fridolin, l'amore per tutte le attività che ha portato avanti, la scrittura, la fotografia, le riprese, lo studio accurato delle tradizioni sarde, e soprattutto la forza di quest'uomo che non è vissuto abbastanza a lungo, 35 anni. A 35 anni Fridolin ci ha lasciato, che però ha lasciato un segno molto importante nelle nostre due culture, danese e sarda. E questo legame va avanti oggi grazie anche attraverso il lavoro di Dante, del quale parleremo fra un secondo. You know, I think what you said gave us the right mood, the right idea about how passionate Fridolin was and how important his legacy is even today. You said it in 86. So I think we are honored to carry on with this work, and we are, eternally grateful to your family for everything you shared with us. So thank you so much. To rush a little bit, but I'm sure later on at the buffet will be time to ask more questions and for people to talk to each other about Fridolin, about these friendships, these close friendships between two countries. Now, I'd like to ask the second guest, who's also our host, to come on the stage, because if we know what we know about Fridolin, it's mainly thanks to the lifelong work of somebody who devoted basically his entire life to this. And I would like Dante Olianas to join us. Please, Dante.
I have to come a little bit closer just to be in the picture. Okay, thanks a lot.
Dante.
Yes, I am here, ready.
To have you here. So Dante,
no shoes.
I know, I'll let you recover a little bit, and I'll introduce you to those who don't know you yet. So, Dante is the founder, and I would like to say the soul of the Iscandula Cultural Association. So, I would say much more than a founder. It really is the soul, and Dante managed to gather around him so many people of different ages who fell in love with Fridolin Bentzon because of the passion and the way in which Dante has been dealing with it. Iscandula was founded in 1985 with the main aim of researching, publishing and promoting Fridolin's work and memory. So my first question to Dante is my favorite question that I was asking several times a day is, Dante, because I think the story is fascinating. How did you stumble into Bentzon? And let me say this in Italian for just a second. La mia domanda per Dante, che è il fondatore di Iscandula e che è colui che ci ha permesso di conoscere il lavoro di Fridolin, è come ha incontrato Fridolin, come è avvenuto questo incontro casuale e questo grande innamoramento in fondo. Dante.
Yes, I just jumped into the story. In 1976, while traveling in a Volkswagen Vanette, and one of the friends who were traveling with me had a copy of Fridolin's book in English. I read a little bit of it and I got fascinated. And as we say, a book can change your life. It was 1976, I don't know if it is 20 years ago, 40 or 45, I don't remember. I'm getting very much old. And anyway, since then I investigated and realized that nobody had translated the book into Italian. And so I started this experience. I'm not a translator at all. And so since I entered the story, I have researched and followed Fridolin's roots in Sardinia, finding all the informants and getting, let's say, and starting a friendship with all the Fridolin's informants. Sometimes they used to call me Andreas. Andreas was the name they used to call Fridolin in Sardinia, because Fridolin was quite a strange name. Andreas is similar to the Italian. Okay, and so since then I had the opportunity to have a scholarship and to come to Copenaghen to have a look to his materials in 1981 and have a copy of it and bring all the materials back to Sardinia in copies, of course, fortunately, because everything is still in the Königliche Bibliothek, the Royal Library, in the department of the Fondazione. Another part of the materials are in the National Museum, another part they are in the Historic Music Museum. Anyway, I tried to give my translation to different publishers in Sardinia, but nobody wanted to publish anything about Laumentas. And so at the end somebody told me, if you want to publish this book, you have to found an association or a legal and family institution. And I did it. So in 1985 we founded this association in Iscandula, and since then my life has changed a lot. Of course this work is done for passion. And fortunately I was already teaching, and so I had the possibility to have a salary. That's it.
Dante incontra Fridolin quando in giro su una Volkswagen di un amico vede il libro scritto da Fridolin Bentzon sulle Laumentas in Sardegna, e da studente di antropologia decide di tradurlo in mezzo a mille difficoltà, perché non c'era tanto interesse in quegli anni per la musica tradizionale sarda, non si riusciva facilmente a trovare un editore, da qui l'idea di fondare Iscandula e di finanziare attraverso fondi pubblici, impegni personali, le opere che Iscandula ha pubblicato su Bentzon. And this leads me to the next question. So, you've published quite a lot and you're still working on the material. Earlier on you told me that basically what you publish is only 20% of Benzon's material. So I was wondering whether you could tell us what comes next, and also if you could spend a few words on the film that we're going to watch today.
Of course. There are a lot of materials, about 2,000 pages, because the work about Laumentas was this youth work, and then he started being a real anthropologist in the work that he did in London. And unfortunately I couldn't finish it, but the family gave me all the copies of the materials, and so I hope one day to be able to publish it. About 1,500 pages of typed cards and recordings, and it's a lot of material. Anyway, this is my plans for the future. And for what concerns the film, in 1981, when I was listening and copying all the tapes, listening to a lady who was bottling flour in his kitchen in Cabras in Sardegna, in a small village in Sardinia. Listening to her, I heard the noise of the camera, and then I suddenly ran to the director of Copenaghen in those days, was Paul Olsen, and I said, Paul, there is a camera noise in the recording. What about films? Did Fridolin leave any films? I said, no, Fridolin was very precise and very meticulous. So if you don't find cards, you won't find anything. You won't find any film. After some days, I read the card written by Fridolin where he said, this recording has been filmed. And then he said, my dear Paul, we must find something. And fortunately, there is a friend here, I don't know if you want to say a word, I don't know if but then the name is Ole Sonberg, who was working at the Fondazione in the same period, and he was responsible for the section of films, and after some days he came back with a team with the 20 negatives of the film, this film, the rushes, let's say. So, just to give you an idea, Fridolin was not a film director, neither a cameraman. Fridolin didn't have a camera. The camera as used for the film was lended to him by Kjell Emma Pettersen. If you don't know Kjell Emma Pettersen, check him, and if you go to the railway station in Kastrup airport, you will find the big black and white enlargements, and these are Kjell Emma Pettersen pictures. So Kjell Emma Pettersen lended this camera to Fridolin, and the camera, take care, is a wine spree. It means that after 17 seconds, not milliseconds, he had to recharge very quickly to continue the shooting. So it's a kind of crazy thing.
Dante, just in Italian for a second. Dante ci sta raccontando che così come è stato casuale l'incontro il primo incontro con Fridolin attraverso il libro, è stato altrettanto casuale il ritrovamento delle immagini, o meglio, non casuale, c'è voluta la passione di genere. Dante che si è accorto che sulle registrazioni c'era un rumore di sottofondo di telecamera, sebbene non fosse registrato da nessuna parte, che Bentzon avesse una telecamera che gli era stata prestata, una telecamera che poteva registrare soltanto per 17 secondi, quindi quello che vediamo è registrato in riprese da 17 secondi ciascuna. Questo ci porta ad apprezzare ancora di più lo sforzo pazzesco.
One more thing, Fridolin didn't have money to buy the films, to buy the rolls, so he went around in the photographer shops in Copenaghen and checked the date of the expiring date of the films, and so when it was ready nearly to be expired, he could have them for free. So he had all these rolls for free. So I have got one of the boxes where this expires in 1959. So it was for some years it was collecting expired copies of films.
Non solo avevano, poteva riprendere per 17 secondi, ma aveva anche, per la mancanza di fondi, di soldi, di denaro, prendeva i film già scaduti che gli venivano quindi regalati. Da qui anche la prova che nonostante le difficoltà Fridolin ha fatto un lavoro pazzesco. Dante, I'm sure there will be so many questions. I have so many questions. New questions, not the ones I always ask you. So I'm sure there will be questions later on, but for now I thank you for your speech, the information you gave us, and if you allow me, because you are the real host, I will call on the stage our next guest. But thank you, and we need to say that the film that we're going to watch is not, it doesn't have Italian subtitles, sorry. It doesn't have Italian subtitles, but it's very intuitive. So Italians who don't speak English will be able to understand everything. And it's a beautiful film.
The film is the less important work done by Fridolin, because he left in Copenaghen the family without any cards, without writing it in the catalog, so it was in a way abandoned, and I think it was found in the section concerning Romani. Okay, so it was out of the Italian section, that's all.
And I'll take my chance, because then I don't know if we'll be on stage again later, but I really take my chance to thank Dante for all his work, because I think what he's done is so thank you, Dante. Stage, we are delighted to also have here Birgitte Sonne. So Birgitte, will you come on stage? Introduce you very briefly at the end of the award. So Birgitte Sonne is a former sociologist of religion, is that correct? At the University of Copenaghen. Birgitte was married to John Sonne, who is, most of you will know, is one of the most famous contemporary poets in Denmark and a very close friend of Fridolin. So Birgitte has, I'm sure, Birgitte has lots of stories about young friendship with Fridolin and also their common experiences, because I think they traveled together in Sardinia, didn't they?
Some.
Not together, but you went to Sardinia. So we are in your hands. Whatever part of your memory you want to share with us, please, Birgitte.
Oh, thank you very much, but I've been prohibited to say very much. So, is that okay? Can you hear? Yeah. Okay. I prepared a speech, but I was not. This morning I was told I shouldn't read all of it. So just do a beginning, and then maybe you will ask me some questions. Fridolin by Bentzon was our very, very good friend who used to visit us for long, cozy talks about all sorts of subjects: ethnography, philosophy, music, literature, poetry, and of course, all of this also with reference to Sardegna. Jörn was a poet with a strong liking for poetry from all over the world: Italy, England, Germany, France, Spain, and in translation also from the rest of the globe. He did know about the art of improvising poems from reading, but he had never come upon the Sardinian way of doing it. When Fridolin told Jörn and urged him to go to Sardinia in order to study this still living tradition, Jörn became hooked. He applied with success, got some foundation, and off he went by train and ferry to Calgary, where Fridolin and his fiancée at that time, Ruth, came to meet him in the morning. They had a drink somewhere and went for lunch at Muro's. Aristide Muro and his professor wife. Aristide introduced this foreign Danish poet to the readers in Sardinian improvised poetry. And it must have been fascinating because they lost count of time and had to run for the tram and then the bus to Villapuzzo. Here, Fridolin and Ruth were living at the tailor's, whose name I never came to know. Actually, Jörn was no genius in picking up names. Most often he named people after their professions. But he did mention the name of the brilliant Launetta player Antonio Lara, whose biography Fridolin was taken down in Villapuzzo. They went to see him and he played, and I quote from Jørgen's diary, bellissime. After a couple of days in Villa Puzzo, Jørgen continued to Arthur Jesus, where some singers of improvised poetry were said to live. Maybe, how much can I be allowed to say? It was only this morning I was told that I shouldn't read a complete paper.
Birgitte, I allow you to carry on. I do. I take responsibility for this. We'll skip the film, don't worry. Skip the film.
Well, where did I go to? Oh, bellissime, yeah. After a couple of days in Villa Puzzo, Jørgen continued to Autonoma, where some singers of improvised poetry were sent to live. He was warmly welcomed by the family Lecca, Signor and Signora Lecca, and their children. One of Jørgen's many lovely memories from his stay with the Leccas was one day when one of their daughters, Ophelia, handed Jørgen an egg with a chirping sound inside. And then, all of a sudden, there was a tiny, still chirping bee cutting its way out. Jørgen came to think how words were born by a fetus already making sounds inside a shell, and then breaking through into the word by its will to talk. The way of creating poetry in a nutshell, one might say. During the first week in Autonoma, Jørgen met with no poets and he planned to go north well. Then little by little, he met with the best singer-poets, the greengrocer, the fishmonger, Neitzer and his friend, the general whose roller walker with a bad gastritis, but who became so inspired by singing that he fed his poor stomach with more and more wine at the get-togethers at the bodega. Jørgen took notes about the meters, keeping check predominantly with the rhymes. Actually, he knew some Italian, but nothing of the South Sardinian dialect. He came to know, of course, because he had a great talent for languages, and I remember how impressed Fridolin was by the outcome of Jørgen's field work. Actually, maybe I should ask Dante to step in, because he has a story about how Jørgen...
Yeah, I don't say, I will stay beside you. This is a funny story. The first time I met Jørgen, I was in Copenaghen, it was in 1982, and so I invited Jørgen to come to my place, and I prepared dinner, and fortunately I had a big tank of 25 liters red wine from my father. Jørgen liked it a lot, so we had dinner, we drank a lot, and then discussing about poetry, Jørgen said, do you want to see visually how is the structure of a poem called 49 lines, no? And so he said, bring all the matches out in the house, and he started in a long table making the structure of the poem. Then I realized that not only for the wine, but I had an injection for yellow fever in the morning in Ristorante here in Copenaghen. So fever was rising and I was completely dizzy. And I said, Jørgen, I can't resist any longer. Please, let's go to sleep. I think it was 2 o'clock in the night. And then he said, yes, we go to sleep, but I need one thing. We are speaking only Italian, because he decided to speak only Italian that night. And so, can I go on?
Please do, you're welcome.
So it's... said Jørgen, let's go to sleep. I prepared the bed for him. And he said, I need something for the night. I said, what? Let me find the word. I know the word in Italian, but wait. And I was really falling in pieces. And then I said, Yo, please tell me. No, I have to find the word. And then when I was really tired, I said, is it something you need to be in the night? Bravo, he said. He needed a vase for the night. So I went around looking for a box or big bottles or whatever. I couldn't find anything. In this kind of crazy situation, I heard the bell door ringing. And I said, oh, it's at 3 o'clock in the night. And then I answered. And there was a woman shouting, my husband. I said, my God, I didn't know she was there. But since then, we became very close friends. And this is a story of the first time I met Johnson. There was a very sympathetic guy. And since then they came to visit me in Sardinia many times. And when Jon left, Birgitte came on her own and to my place and shared a lot of talks and a lot of experience. Is that true? Am I right?
The last. Oh, sorry.
Okay, that's it.
Well, in a couple of years after his return, and okay, can you hear? Continued to receive new poems from Orthocesus. He had most of the entire collections transcribed and typed. Yet, to his deep regret, he never came to have the material published. Well, let me finish this. Jan felt very, very good during his stay in Orthocesus. The Lecker family were so kind and they fed him extremely well. Indeed, I have never seen him so pallid as on his return from Signora Lecker's tasty cooking. And he came to love the out of doors as well, because whenever he felt tired of being so intensely listening and talking among many people, even into the fields, where he felt some peace, yes, let me quote from his diary, sono a casa, la mia casa. And he certainly came to appreciate being among the Sardinian poets. As time went on, these singer poets came to trust Jan's interest and capabilities in understanding their art. So they did their utmost to offer him poems on record and opportunities to listen to their songs. And Cousin Black handed him poems written down from his memory, and more, even on Jan's very last day in Orthocesus, did the singer poets turn up with poems. They took time and energy that is always after a long day of work in the forbidden heat to write down very long songs for him. Also, they invited him to at least go 2 great evenings at the bodega, the big wine grower's place. One very violent, I cannot tell what happened, but as for the last, very animated, made it one. It went on and on. And the host both gave the wine for free and extended the closing time 1 hour. There was singing throughout the evening. The channel worker, with his bad stomach, drank liters of wine and sang 7 songs in a row. Another man sang a long, artful poem of homage to Jan, and then another, a still more complicated one. Jan felt extremely satisfied with having succeeded in getting into the hearts and the art of these South Sardinian poets. For once, in contrast to his feeling at home in Denmark, he here, in Sardinia, felt free to declare, I am a poet among poets.
Thank you, Birgitte. Your memories and this is the quotations from Jan's diary are so poetic and so intense that it was, a crime to ask you to shorten what you wanted to say. Just a bit of a compromise because we have to rush. The Italians won't have a translation of this, but maybe we'll make the speech available and with a translation for you on our website. I think this is a good compromise. Birgit, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Un piccolo spoiler, una cosa fra di noi. Ha parlato dei viaggi di Johnson in Sardegna tra Villapuzzo e Ortaceso, ma prometto di fare una traduzione di questo pezzo e postarlo sul sito, perché davvero era tanto poetico e molto intenso, quindi traduzione presto sul sito di Iscandula. I'd like to go on though, and the next person that I'm going to invite on the stage, I will call you Christian in a second. Just let me tell you something about him. I'm calling on the stage a very good friend of Fridolin, somebody who shared so much of Fridolin's experiences and who traveled to Sardinia with Fridolin in the 1950s. Christian Ellis started as a lawyer, later becoming Christian. This is what Dante told me, so if it's not correct. And then becoming an inspector at the National Museum of Denmark, and then following Fridolin's suggestion, he decided to found his publishing company, the Christian Ellis Forlag, sorry about the pronunciation. Christian has often taken part in conference. I've seen him myself in dialogue with Dante, and because Christian has dialogues with Danteanas, I always thought they were so beautiful. I like, their friendship, their way of remembering Fridolin. I thought that for a second I can leave the stage and ask Dante to interview Christian if you'd like to join me on the stage.
Oh, very quickly. Christian, your first time in Sardinia in 19 when you went to excavate as an archaeologist.
It was I think it was in 19, when it was 93?
93? 53.
1953, yes. I'm confused with chronology because I'm such an old man. I'm 87 years old now, and sometimes I mix up with as I say, the chronology. But it's true, I was in Sardinia the first time when I was a student in 1953.
Very good. So you traveled to Sardinia together with Fridolin and Ulla Elum.
Yes, that's true.
In 1955. Where did you meet Fridolin? You didn't leave Copenaghen together.
No, but we knew it. We were good friends at that time, and then we were how could I say, we were travelers, and we were always in Rome, and we were at the same time we were in Rome, and then of course we met in the street in Via Giulia, and he said, "What are you doing here?" "Well, I'm on my way to Sardinia now. Would you join me?" "Well, I'll join you." And then the next day we took the train to Civitavecchia, and then the Piroscafo to Olivia, and then we were around in
Please.
and then we traveled around, Ulla and Fridolin and I, for some weeks. I can't remember, but it was a long time, and we had a marvelous time because we were in villages which Fridolin would consider these were particularly interesting because there were bandits and robbers. So we were we were traveling. We didn't. There was no hitchhiking, so we walked through from Marmojada and all this funny and all these places. And then when we were tired in the evening, we slept in the window in the middle, yes. And then we went on. And actually, I got very ill at that time because we were in one village. The water was contaminated, so I got very, very, very ill. And then there was a family who took me, some people which I never met, but they took me into my house, and I stayed there for a fortnight as a very, very sick boy. It was so kind to me, so I really, well, that's...
Yeah, it was a disaster, yeah, very good. So, together with Fridolin, you started working with the very famous Sardinian circus, Circo Zanfretta.
Oh yes, we were very good at circus. There was a circus, Circo Zanfretta, and we were there because we were tall and we were blonde, and they thought that we were on the staff, but we were not in the staff, but we were always on the. When we went into a new village, we were in the procession, and we were sort of we were recommending the circus with these tall, strange men. and then we worked. I had responsibility to look after the elephant. There was one elephant, and I was looking after the elephant. It was a young elephant, so I could give. I remember I give it peas. So if you had one pea, you could give it to the elephant, and when the little finger could take one pea and ate it with pleasure. But it was fantastic just to travel from one circus to another. And we were in Sedio, and we were at Cavalcata di Sedio, we were all over where it was interesting to be. But all these things are somehow confusing for me because now it's 60 years ago. But I love to be there, and since then I've come there again and again and again.
Yeah, that's it. Christian, at the end of the 80s, you published a book, Michela Scoloro's book.
Oh yes, that's Michela Scoloro. She is not...
Just a minute. The book is the autobiography of this lady in Nule, who wrote her autobiography under the invitation of Fridolin, and go on.
Oh yes, Fridolin asked her, he stayed with her in Nule with a research purpose to talk together with the shepherds. And he was there for a long period, and then he stayed in Nicolo's house, and then he said to her, you should write your own history. And she was indeed very, very intelligent, and she was not only intelligent, but she was also trying to defend her own life. What did I actually do? Because she left her husband, and then she was to live by her own work, and then she started to weave carpets, and she engaged women in this area to make carpets, and then she was a businesswoman, but then she had also time to write her own life.
And you published it?
Yeah, I published the book, yes, because then I got the manuscript. It was a strikingly good book. And it was about,
88.
Yes, it was, what do you remember? Si piange?
Ah, si piange e si ride.
Yeah, si piange e si ride. You have tears and then you laugh. And that was the idea of the book. And I published the book, and I still, it's a very, very interesting, it was not very much sold, but it was very, very charming. And we've been there together, Dan and I, in Nule many years later.
In 1998, we were together in Oh, Christian, thank you very much. We could talk about hours because we could tell the stories of sleeping in the countryside and they didn't have money to pay an hotel or a place where to sleep. So they slept in the countryside, and it happens sometimes that people come in with their donkey or their horse would get shocked seeing them sleeping in the... It's a long story, you don't have the time to do that. Christian, tack for that.
Back with our last but not least at all guest. Again, I'm sorry that we are in a rush for the Italians here, but again, we are going to make available a short extract of a beautiful interview to Christian, which I think is worth it, listening to in Italian as well, with subtitles maybe, or a short resume. So I'm sorry, Italian friends, but I need to go on. I need to go on and call on the stage our last guest, who is Bentzon, Fridolin's brother. Thank you, Vigo. Welcome. So, Vigo, Fridolin's brother, is, let me introduce you very briefly. You do so many things that I'll forget, many, I guess. But you're a well-known painter, you're an author, and a film designer, is that correct?
That's
and
right.
Thank you for
Working? Okay. I will make it very fast. I'm the brother. I know Fridolin all my time to this day. I'm the only one. There was only 1 year and 8 months between us. So we were very, very close. We sleep together and we play together, and when he died, I was very sorry. I have another gift. This is the big gift. The big gift is here. Don't touch it. No.
I thought
This one is Fridolin's best, and it has only one owner between Fridolin and me. When Fridolin finished to make his money, he played the bass for the money, for he wanted to go to Sardegna and make some music. Found out about the music. He only played this for the money. One of my friends came in '59, soldier camera, and saw the bass and said to Fridolin, do you want to sell it? Yes, I want to sell it because I don't need it anymore. I have the money, so I can go. And the bass stayed with my friend until 4 years ago, and he died, and his son came to me and said, do you want to buy it? I buy it for a painting, okay, but it was an expensive painting. Then Carla and I were sitting there looking at the bass. I played an euphonium, it's a kind of tuba. I played that for 40 years. I never played the bass. The bass stays there. I make some drawing with Karen naked with the bass, and make drawings of the bass, and then Karen said, now it's time to get rid of the bass. So we look around, and then we think, what about giving it to Sardegna? This is the instrument that made it all possible.
Yes.
You see. So you will have the bass. It's not staying in dust. It's we can play. It's a new story. So it's very good. So Fridolin, I have a little. No, you can see that when we're eating a little photo when he's playing the bass. And here, Dan, will you open this one?
I'd like to lie on my knees.
Yes, in italiano Vigo sta donando il basso che è appartenuto a Fridolin alla Fondazione Iscandula. Lo strumento originale di Fridolin.
You can see Fridolin. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a tuning fork. Fridolin used that for all his music. Now,
really?
that's the Fridolin tuning fork. I have it all the time. I use it for my instrument, but maybe you use your telephone. So you can have it. You don't. To exhibit a telephone is not that funny. So have the original tuning fork. Is that a tuning fork?
May I say one thing in your microphone?
No.
So each one of the about 800 recordings that Fridolin took in Sardinia is opened by this key, each tuning fork, each one, because the speed of the tape recorders changed, so each time he had to step back, but according to the aim.
Give it to me. And then the people know what they're talking about.
Anche italiano.
Yeah,
Con questo. Yeah.
He was sitting with this one. I was living together with him at the time when he was transcribing all the longitudinals, and we were living very close to each other, only as a door between us. And Fridolin has this one and his Tandberg tape recorder, and now you can hear how that sounds. Longitudinal sounds like it. For 3 months. So, now you can start you can continue. So, but this is all what I can do. I can stand up and give you the passage. Heavy. Simple. Here you are.
Take care, be careful.
It's yours, all yours.
Thank you very much.
Se volete allora cambiamo il microfono.
Sorry.
So, if you sit down,
Yes.
for one moment, we call Morten, Oiri, where's Morten? Please come.
So this is a surprise within the surprise. La prima sorpresa è la donazione del basso e la seconda sorpresa è quella che verrà. So the first surprise, huge surprise, was present by Vigo, and the second surprise is coming. Dante, if you want to introduce it and tell the story.
Well, the story is very simple. When last year Vigo promised me to donate the bus to the association, then I said, okay, don't send it through the mail, because it can be dangerous. I will come and pick it up. So when I informed Morten last week, I said, Morten, Vigo is going to donate the bus, and it will be donated officially in front of the audience in Hellerup at the Italian Culture Institute. And then he asked, who is going to play it? And I said, I can play it. Please, Morten. Let's hear the sound of Fridolin's bus, which has been lined for many years. Can you hear? Is it okay?
first encounter of his face with the music that interested him the most. I was just a substitute. I hope he looks down from the skies and is satisfied with my performance.
No, it's okay, it's okay. Now we are ready to watch with you, if you like.
Yeah, you are the big gift and the small gift.
Yes, I've got everything. That's kiss. Okay, so now the speeches and everything has been solved, and so we are going to watch with you. Do not expect anything special. There are not cars, branding or whatever. There are not love stories. It is only a Danish point of view on Sardinian culture, and it is touching the way he enters in the Sardinian reality, in the Sardinian life, in Sardinian life, and in the houses of the farmers, of the poor people. That was his taste, and you find it in the film. I told you that the camera had only 17 seconds shots, so it is very, very difficult to cut a film like this. There was no synchro between images and sound, and so it has been a kind of archaeological work to cut this film. But let me say one more, one very simple thing. After the film has been done, has been finished, has been cut and presented in Cagliari in front of, in the Opera Theatre in Cagliari with an audience of 950 guests. It was really a shock. Anyway, after that, I had the diary, Freedom's diaries, translated by my Brinker, who is here around, who is Morten's wife. Eccola qui, alza la mano. Thank you very much. Mary translated the diaries into Italian, and then I realized in a line that in 1958 in Nuoro, Freedom writes, I have met Fiorenzo Serra, the film director who cut the film, and we 58, okay? We traveled together and we have discussed about the possibility to make a film together about Launetas. It was 1958. Bentzon never wrote anything about, Freedom Bentzon never wrote anything about the story. Fiorenzo, who I contacted to cut the film, never remembered the story. We were together for years. And when I read the diary, I said, okay, what a magic. They have decided 50 years ago to make a film together. Freedom shot it and Fiorenzo cut it. This magic. So I intended to go to Fiorenzo's place and show him the diary and the translation into Italian, but unfortunately even Fiorenzo died early. I couldn't expect that, and so I haven't had the possibility to tell you this story. But anyway, it's a way of concluding a long story which has lasted for many years. So the film is going to start, and our director of technology, Mario, I think is okay. Bye. See you later.